Welcome, everyone, to the Insights conversation on peacekeeping at a crossroads, the future of UN missions and global responsibility. As the international community confronts new waves of conflict, displacement, and political instability, this conversation will explore whether UN peacekeeping is still a viable instrument for maintaining international peace and security, if it is still fit for purpose. For this conversation, we're honored to welcome Prime Minister Albin Kurti from the Republic of Kosovo for this important and timely conversation. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for being here with us. Let's begin with the strategic relevance of UN peacekeeping. Mr. Prime Minister, over the past few decades, UN peacekeeping operations have faced increasingly complex conflicts, complex mandates, and in fact, if the 2000s were called the golden age of peacekeeping, many today are saying that this is the crisis of UN peacekeeping. From your perspective, does the current model of UN peacekeeping remain an effective tool for maintaining international peace and security, or, as many of its critics claim, has it reached its limits?
Let me start by saying that I believe that the greatest achievement of 20th century is Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which brings together notions of equality and universality. On the other hand, through United Nations, we maintain as much as we can the idea of human dignity and its priority in human relations and also the vision of prosperity. So this is crucial to emphasize because people from around the world believe that there must be a global instance which serves as moral anchoring point for difficult situations in which they might be, or hardships that they are expecting to go through. I believe that UN peacekeeping missions must have clear goal, must have local support, and also a time frame. There is no such thing as interim without a deadline. So it's very important to notice these three principles for any future UN peacekeeping mission. And here I would like, in addition, to make a difference between peacekeeping and peacebuilding. Peacekeeping means that once you have peace, you have to protect it, you have to defend it, you have to keep it, which means ground troops, ensuring safety and security for all. Whereas peace building means institutions of the system and social awareness. So it's very important to have this peace building in mind, not only in terms of military forces, but also of democratic institutions of a political system, together with a vibrant society where critical thinking and thriving debates are part of everyday life, not only of political parties, but of all other organizations, including unions, women organizations, youth organizations, and NGOs in general.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. What would you say are the lessons we can draw from Kosovo? You have a long experience with international missions, including the UN and NATO presence. That experience has actually shaped debates about sovereignty and intervention. How might the lessons from Kosovo be learned and adapted elsewhere, especially this balance that you speak of between international oversight and domestic ownership, and how did this evolve in Kosovo's state building processes?
In the first year, when UN mission in Kosovo was deployed, was quite successful. That was the phase of humanitarian aid and return of refugees. So I think that in those two accounts, UN generally does well. So when people go back to their homes and when you need different kind of support for families, for women and children, for the elderly, for those who are wounded or ill. So 1999 was a success story of UN in Kosovo. However, I must say that when we were about to pass to a new chapter, which is the one of democracy and development, it didn't do well. So from our experience, I could say that UN mission in Kosovo was quite successful in terms of having to do with human beings and their security, then their life as such, preserving like minimal well-being. However, when we needed democratization of our country, when we needed economic development, then it became more of a liability than an opportunity. This could be linked partially also with the leadership of UN peacekeeping mission in Kosovo, which was marked by two distinguished diplomats, Sergio Vieira di Mello and Bernard Kouchner. So you need leadership of UN missions anywhere where they are deployed, leadership which acknowledges the importance of a perfect combination between public legitimacy and everyday efficiency. You need to have efficient leaders on one hand, but at the same time who care very much about local population. So it's not enough to have politicians and diplomats, to be honest. You also need people who either have sensitivity of a sociologist or anthropologist, or rather both, I must say, or who has such advisors in their teams, who understand that they have executive powers that they should not have, but still they do. And definitely they are not supposed to enjoy them. Those executive powers of peacekeeping missions are not limited in scope, usually. And it's crucial that people not just like you, but agree with you. And I think first year of UN mission in Kosovo has been successful. Also, there has been a certain elements which proved to be hopeful for the future, like removing Yugoslav dinar from Kosovo as an official currency and bringing first German mark and then also euro since 1st of January 2002. But then again, you know, when it comes to democratization, we ended up in a certain legal nightmare of UN office in New York, and problems within Security Council with some non-democratic superpowers who didn't want to see Kosovo becoming independent turn out to micromanage everyday policy making and political decisions in our country.
Thank you for for those insights. What we're seeing today, just shifting to the current context, we're seeing increasingly peace operations and peacekeeping interventions deployed and authorized by multiple organizations, regional organizations, sub-regional organizations, the EU, the African Union, African regional organizations, NATO, the discussions around an eventual, what an eventual peace operation in Ukraine or in Gaza might look like. Do you foresee a shift towards a more decentralized architecture of collective security? And if so, how do you see the UN remaining central to international peace and security?
It's not easy, taking into consideration the internal dynamics within the General Assembly, in particular Security Council of UN, which is quite small, I must say, only 5 members. And we know that 2 of them are non-democratic. For every peacekeeping and peace-building mission, you need shared values, not only common interests. You need shared values. And that's why I think the bulk of problems have to be settled beforehand. Things cannot be left for later. Or limit peacekeeping mission only to humanitarian phase and return of refugees. In my country, NATO-led military force had initially over 50,000 soldiers on the ground. Nowadays, as we speak, is less than 4,000. So military presence was going down and GDP was going up. If you compare GDP per capita of Kosovo to today with Kosovo in the year 2000, it's 6 times higher. And it's 3 times higher than the year 2008 when we declared independence. So liberation and independence must have also this macroeconomic dividend for the country. And again, it has to be felt in livelihood of families and society as a whole. So I do not see how these things can be easily tackled within Security Council, but I think that this should not make us think that we should not try.
Thank you for that note of optimism, in fact. So would you say then that the UN's comparative advantage, given the fragmentation and the divisions in the Council, might lie more in lending political legitimacy or in norm setting than in operational deployment?
Yes, normative aspect is very important, and that needs to be done through multilateralism, dialogue, negotiations, and agreements. However, I think that if that is not doable, one should seek for alternative solutions. But still, I am among those who believe that one should try first that. Not to say that it will not work. Maybe we should live the experience of something not working as global as possible before embarking into Plan B. Here, I believe that European Union can be of a great help, because whenever UN mission in Kosovo was engaging in different kinds of projects, be that in economy, culture, infrastructure, or institution building, when EU was there, hope of the people was much higher. But at the same time, I must say that success was having greater probability, because European Union, in our view, is the most important and successful political project and historical process of peace and prosperity since Second World War. So the convergence of EU, multilateralism within EU, is something that I believe UN could learn a great deal.
On that note, how do you see the role of emerging democracies, middle powers, smaller countries like Kosovo, in advancing international peace and security, even UN reform processes in this area, whether or not they're on the Security Council? In fact, most are not, as you pointed out. How do you see, for example, the role of a Kosovo and other member states in and around, say, the EU, the middle powers, as we call them, in this space to get around the divisions of the P5?
Kosovo is a double success story. In one hand is a success story of NATO military humanitarian intervention to stop genocide of Serbia in spring 1999, and then again is a success story of development and democracy going hand in hand. Because as we know, there are certain superpowers nowadays who want to show that development doesn't need democracy. Actually, those who think that development doesn't need democracy, I think they don't really believe in human rights, neither in impartial rule of law, where law is supposed to unite the society and not to divide it into those who are untouchable from those who become defenseless. So it's very important to use Kosovo as a positive example of this double success story. On the other hand, forums like Paris Peace Forum, conferences and summits where you do not have only the big 5 or the big 3 or the big 7 or the big 20 for that matter, but you include everyone in debating about grievances from the past, but also dreams for the future, is the right way forward.
Wonderful. I think in the last few minutes we have left, we might take 1 or 2 questions. Yes, this one and that one. Please, go ahead. Yeah, I think we need a mic.
I can project as well. It's
Here,
okay.
there's one coming. Yep.
Thank you so much for the discussion and for being here today. I was wondering, how do you see the EU integration process of Kosovo, given that certain member states in the EU still do not recognize Kosovo as an independent state? Thank you.
Thank you. Behind you, the lady behind you. Yep. We'll take 2 questions and then we'll...
Should I ask before?
I'm sorry?
Should I ask before he answers the question?
No, go ahead and ask your question. Yeah.
Përshëndetje zoti Kryeministër, faleminderit për të gjitha. I do have a question. How do you see Kosovo finding its own place in regional cooperation, which major of its stability is guaranteed by international organizations such as NATO or UN? What's our place in regional cooperation? Thank you.
Thank you very much for these 2 questions. First of all, yes, among EU27, there are 5 non-recognizers: Spain, Slovakia, Romania, Greece, and Cyprus. One of them is not in NATO. Therefore, in NATO, out of 32 member states, 28 recognize us. Yesterday, we were recognized by Syria. In this year, Kenya and Sudan recognized us. So 120 countries throughout the world recognize our republic. We're working bilaterally with these 5 non-recognizers within EU. There are bits and pieces of progress. For example, Spain recognized our passport. Greece elevated the status of our office in Athens. However, recognition is still not there. We're working hard. We need those who recognized us to help us convince those who did not. And in spite of non-recognition, I think none of the non-recognizers oppose the European path and European integration of Kosovo. So we have stabilization association agreement, and we are part of Berlin process for Western Balkan 6. We participate in EU growth plan and so on and so forth. So I'm optimistic for the times ahead. And I believe that Juncker's era, former president of European Commission, is definitely over. Because now European Union has made a decision that Western Balkans will be included into EU sooner rather than later. We are an enclave within European Union. We're surrounded by European Union. Western Balkans is EU. EU should become Europe by including us. It's not that just optimism is part of my job description, but I'm really optimistic about times ahead. I believe that EU, out of the current crisis, will become stronger. On the other hand, out of 6 Western Balkan countries, 3 of them are in NATO, 3 are not. Kosovo is not in NATO, but NATO is in Kosovo. And we want to join NATO as soon as possible. Therefore, we're increasing capacities and capabilities of our security force. We doubled the number of soldiers in the last 4 years. We are buying ammunition, military equipment from our partners and allies. So we want to join NATO not only to benefit, but also to contribute, and this has been acknowledged. We participated in Defender Europe 25 this spring with almost 940 soldiers and officers, and Infantry Division 28 of US Army was controlling and commanding southeast operations in Defender Europe 25 from Kosovo. We're also a hosting country, not only a participatory one. So we're making great leaps forward, and it is third year now that we have surpassed 2% of our GDP as expenditure for defense and military. We know that that's not enough nowadays, but we are progressing, I must say, even faster than some NATO members.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. I think our time is unfortunately up. Perhaps you can save your questions, and I'm not going to encourage folks to come and talk to you outside, but if you have time, please do. You've been very generous with your time, and it's lovely to hear about all of the progress that Kosovo has been making in recent years. So I thank you very, very much for your time, and if you'd like to say some final words, being mindful that we're being told that time is out.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Carayannis, for having me here today. It's a great pleasure and honor for all of you who will be doing politics in one way or another. Politics is a great place to learn. So it's not only academia, universities, also in politics, you learn a lot about the people. But be aware, one should not learn at the expense of having ideas. You must have ideas in politics, not only learn. But at the same time, not have ideas at the expense of learning, as if you have certain ideas and you don't need to learn anymore. So combine ideas and learning and engage for the people where you come from and to whom we should all serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much.